Hello, I am Jaee Sanjay Nikam, and I am a graduate student at the ETM program here. And this is my second semester here. And today I'm going to present a presentation on India and environment. It's an overview about the environment in India. And I'm basically from India, rather Pune, India. Pune is the name of the city, which is really close to Mumbai. I'm sure most of you guys know where Mumbai is. So on the first slide, you can see the flag of India. So I'll just start. So basically, the location of India. India is geographically located in the northern hemisphere. It is located in the South Asia and bordered by countries like Pakistan, China, and Nepal. It is surrounded by three major water bodies, namely Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal. And you can see the map of the world and where India is highlighted out here. This is another closer look at where India is located. So an overview on the Indian economy. India is the world's largest democracy, and it emerged as a major power in the 1990s. It is a fast-growing and powerful economy. As you can see, India ranks 4th in the world in GDP after European Union, China, and USA. Indian currency is called the rupee, and the current conversion in US dollars is $1 is 62.53 Indian rupees. And as you can see the graph over years, there is a continuous rising trend in India's GDP. Mumbai, which is the city on the west coast, is also known as the trade and financial capital of India. And by economy, India is the 10th largest in the world by nominal GDP. So this is a really interesting picture that I found. In this, it shows kind of the two, not extremes, but the two sides of the economy. India's economy combines traditional industries such as brick making on the left, you can see, and the more modern ones such as the successful film industry with Bollywood stars. The film industry in India is called Bollywood. I'm sure it's pretty famous. So those are the Bollywood stars on the right. Indian population. India is the second most populous country in the world after China. Based on the total number of births, deaths, net migration rates, the population as of 2013 is 1.2 billion people. You can see the number, it's really big. So, and the population density is that's about, as of the year 2014, it's about 383.7 people per square kilometer. To give a comparison, it is 993.8 people per square mile. And it contains about 130 million less people than what China is as 2014. India's population makes about 17.5% the world's population. So as you can see in the pictures, it's quite a lot. So this is the map of the population density in India. As you can see here, I can just write it down like here. So these are the major cities. Most of the population in India is concentrated in major cities. So that's where the density is going to be a lot. So if you can see here, this is Delhi. Somewhere around here is Mumbai. I can't just exactly tell you. And there are other major cities like Bangalore, Chennai, which have a lot of population density. Well, this is because many of the people from the rural areas migrate to the urban in search of better living. So that's how the density is, population density. Indian diversity. Now, the diversity in India is quite unique. Let me just get this. Okay. So it's got diversity in every sector. Like if you see the linguistic diversity, around 22 languages are recognized by the Indian Constitution. Out of that, there are 18 official languages, 114 languages are spoken. Out of those, there are 216 mother tongues and around 900 plus dialects. So that's spread out around all the entire part of the India. Hindi is the national language, but English is commonly used for the national, political, commercial and educational purposes. Also, there's regional religious diversity. There are a lot of religions in India, and India is ideally known as the country of diversity with respect to everything. And as you can see, most of the people in India are Hindus. Around 80% are Hindus, followed by Muslims, that is Islam, that is around 13%, and the rest religions, as you can see. Each religion has its castes and subcastes. They are known as jatis in the local language. There are around 3,000 castes. Out of that, each caste will have at least 10 to 15 subcastes. So that's kind of complicated, but yeah, it is amazing to see how there are people who are really different, but they are all Indians. So there's also diversity in food, in the way of clothing, the way of living. This is because the entire India has different environments, different climates. If you go, I'll tell you that in the future slides on Indian topography. So the kind of food, the kind of dressing and the kind of living differs from different places. And it is amazing to see if you go to the north, it's totally different than what you will see, everything from the color of the skin to the way of living than when you go to the south. So here are the pictures of, on the left side you can see the types of places of worship in India. There are quite a few, and there's also diversity in Indian food. There's a lot of diversity that is again because of various regions and the various climates in the various regions. So Indian topography. India consists of various landforms from high mountains, mountain ranges, extensive plains, coasts, deserts and islands. Let me just get this. Yeah. So the main, besides the mainland, there are two groups of islands, namely Lakshadweep in the Arabian Sea and Andaman Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. India has a really long coastline of 7,500 kilometers. As you can see, there are the major ranges called the Himalayas are to the north, and there are quite a few different features which I will tell in the further slides. So these are if you see the mountain ranges, these are the mountain ranges. The mountain ranges are mainly Himalayas, Aravalis, Satpuras. The Western Ghats has the Sahyadris, and also there are a few on the Eastern Ghats. So when it comes to rivers, mountains are the primary source of rivers, which derive their flow from rainfall, snow and glacier melt. If you see the area, India occupies nearly about 2.42% of land of the entire earth. So this is a really beautiful picture of the Himalayan range. The Himalayas are geologically young mountains. They consist of three main series running parallel to each other. The northernmost is known as the Great Himalayas or Himadri. This range contains a number of high peaks which include Mount Everest, which is the highest peak in the world. The second highest is Kanchenjunga. The second range, which is kind of in the middle of the two ranges, is called the Middle Himalayas or the Himachal. They lie south to the Himadri. The southernmost range is the Outer Himalayas or Shivaliks. And the major rivers in North India originate from these ranges, which the major rivers are Indus, Satluj, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Ganga is a big one, and it is also considered as a holy river. This is another picture of the Himalayan ranges. So as you go a bit towards south from there, there are the northern plains. The North Indian plains from Indus and Ganga were formed by the alluvium that was carried by the rivers originally from the Himalayas. This has led to the formation of vast northern plains of thick fertile alluvium in North India. As you can see, there are three parts of the northern plain, and all of them are really fertile regions. So naturally agriculture and there's a lot of greenery, as you can see in the picture on the left side. There's a lot of greenery in those regions. Now we come to the peninsula region. As you can see, the peninsula region is right here to the southernmost, and that is it is a triangular shaped region whose vertex is near Kanyakumari. Kanyakumari is the southernmost tip. The beauty of this place is you can see all the three water bodies from one point if you just go to Kanyakumari. That's kind of pretty. And so the peninsula region starts from here, and it ends around here near Calcutta. And you can see in the photo there are a lot of coconut trees, and most of the occupation of most of the people out there is mostly coconuts, and all the food and everything is coconut oil based, because there's a lot of greenery out here as well. So these are the coastal plains. The coastal plains lie between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, and the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. So in the previous slide, I guess I have it. Okay. So these are the Western and the Eastern plains, like right here. So, and one more fact is the Western coast has a number of big seaports. The main one is Mumbai and Cochin. Cochin should be around here. There are three main types of deserts. I have pictures of them as well. So the first type is the cold mountain desert. It is in the Trans-Himalayas, in between the ranges. The second one is the white salt desert of Kutch, which is also known as Run of Kutch. It should be, okay, I can show you out here. It's somewhere around here. And the third is the Thar desert, which is a sandy desert, and it is in Rajasthan. Yep, it's in Rajasthan. Then the islands. These islands are a major tourist attraction because they're really pretty. So there are two islands, as I said, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are in the southeastern part of Bay of Bengal, and Lakshadweep Islands, which are in the Arabian Sea. Some of these islands are inhabited, some are not. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are less than 50 kilometers in length per island. So now we start with the main problems or the main issues that India is facing, and what are we doing about it. So the main sources, if now you're talking about the air pollution, so the major source of air pollution in India is the fuel wood and biomass burning. This is the primary reason for near permanent haze and smoke observed above the rural and urban area. Fuel wood and biomass cakes are used for cooking and general heating purposes, mostly in the rural areas because there is a bit of a problem of electricity there. These are burnt in cook stores known as chullas. You can see a picture of a cook store out there. And these are present in over 100 million Indian households and are used at least 2 to 3 times daily. So the traditional fuels used are dried cow dung, agriculture waste, firewood like logs and twigs, which can be easily available. The burning of this kind of fuel can release high levels of smoke, particulate matter, and carbon monoxide emissions, etc. This form of burning releases around 165 million tons of combustion products into the India's indoor and outdoor air every year. According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, around 300,000 to 400,000 people die of indoor air pollution and carbon monoxide poisoning in India every year only due to this type of burning. India is the world's largest consumer of fuel wood, agriculture waste and biomass for energy purposes. India burns 10-fold more fuel oil every year than USA. The fuel wood quality in India is different than the dry fuel wood of USA, and Indian stoves are less efficient, thereby leading to more smoke and more air pollutants per kg equivalent of the fuel wood burned. This is really nicely being tackled by the Indian government in a way that the Indian government is providing incentives and more efficient cook stoves to the people in rural areas, and also they are increasing the electricity reach to the rural areas, which has given a really interesting result, which has reduced around, I have it in the further slides, it's I guess 30 to 65% of the emissions, which is a really good thing. Sorry. The second source is fuel adulteration. Some of the Indian taxis and auto rickshaws run on adulterated fuel blends. Adulteration of gasoline and diesel with lower price fuel is very common, not only in India but many other developing countries as well. Some adulterants increase emissions of harmful pollutants. The primary cause of this is financial incentives arising from differential taxes. So that is that in India, the gasoline is higher taxed than diesel, and in turn, diesel is higher taxed than kerosene, which is meant as a cooking fuel. So as the fuel price rises, the public transport driver cuts cost by mixing cheaper hydrocarbon with highly taxed hydrocarbon. The blending is as much as 20 to 30% of the total fuel. So for a low-wage driver, the adulteration can yield short-term savings which are significant over the month. This problem is also being tackled by the government by giving incentives. So another problem is traffic congestion. This is a severe problem in India's cities and towns and can be caused by increase in number of vehicles per kilometer of available road, lack of proper infrastructure, proper expressway networks, traffic accidents, too many cars in the roads, etc. As the traffic congestion happens, the average traffic speed reduces. So at low speed, vehicles burn more fuel and they burn more fuel inefficiently and pollute more per trip. So the next is industries. India is the third largest emitter of carbon dioxide after China and USA. About 65% of India's carbon dioxide emissions in 2009 were from heating, domestic use and power sector. India's coal-fired, oil-fired and natural gas-fired thermal power plants are inefficient and offer significant potential for CO2 emission reduction through a better technology. So compared to the average emission from all the power plants in the EU, European Union countries, India's thermal power plants emit 50 to 120% more CO2 per kilowatt hour produced. This is significantly due to inefficient thermal power plants installed in India prior to its economic liberalization in the 1990s. So the current situation in India is a recent study states that the air pollution in India reduces the lifespan of around 660 million people over 3 years. By 3 years. 77% of the country's urban areas are in the worse than the norms prescribed under the air quality standards in India. Now the air quality standards in India are different than the ones in USA. For PM 2.5, the air quality standard is 60 microgram per meter cube as compared to the NACs for PM 2.5 in USA, which is 12. But still, the current readings of PM 2.5, I got this off a slide recently. So these readings are 2 days prior. So those are the readings. So Mumbai is, the reading for Mumbai is 182. That's the concentration of particulate matter of size 2.5 in Mumbai. Pune, which is my city, is 156, Delhi is 165. And as you can see in the graph, the WHO guideline, this line is the WHO guideline, which is 20, and these are the readings over the years. This is for PM 10. So what is done to improve? As I said, there is increasing in the electric power plant generation capacity, bringing electricity to rural areas, reforming markets to improve availability and distribution of liquefied cleaner burning fuel to reduce harmful effects caused by fuel wood burning. This has given a lot of good results. It is about 30 to 65% reductions of emissions by this source. Then there are specific control technologies, specific control strategies applied for major industries. This is quite recent. Like there have been control of SO2 emissions, SO2 emission standard enforcement. This has been taken pretty seriously by the government of India. Leak detection and repair program to reduce fugitive emissions in oil refineries. Also the enforcement of particulate matter emissions. It should be at least 70% compliant to the set standard. Promotional of clean coal technologies, tall stack dispersion. This is done in thermal power plants. Also, there are city-specific air quality monitoring action plans in place. All of this is still in process. So the first point which I've mentioned has given a lot really good results. I think this is going to improve a lot, improve the air quality of the entire country a lot. So also the shifting of highly polluting industries from residential areas to approved industrial areas. This is done specifically in Delhi. So that has given a really good result, and that is shown by the improvement of the quality of the buildings, especially Taj Mahal in Agra. Also, there have been closure of some hazardous air polluting industries if they have a failure to comply. Then there are quite a few programs with respect to the vehicular emissions, which is the diesel sulfur reduction program, gasoline benzene reduction program, and notification and approved fuel for public transport has to be in Delhi is done. This is with respect to the adulteration problem. Also, in major cities where there is a lot of population density, there have been introduction of metro rails and a better infrastructure for highways to reduce traffic congestion. And I guess the metro in Mumbai was just introduced last year, which is a good development. So water pollution. So, according to the statistics, more than 100 million people live in areas of poor water quality. You can see the areas which have breaches of which are more than the set standards, like the ones in the red are the ones with the maximum least water quality and maximum pollution. Also, 54% of India faces, 54% of India faces high to extreme high water stress. 54% of India's groundwater wells are also decreasing. These are the sources of water pollution. So, untreated sewage is the single most important source of pollution of surface and groundwater in India. The problem is there is a large gap between the generation and treatment of domestic wastewater in India. So that's kind of a problem. And according to the 1992 World Health Organization study, it is reported that out of India's 3,119 towns and cities, just 209 have partial sewage treatment facilities and only 8 have full wastewater treatment facilities. So if investment is needed to be done to bridge the gap between sewage India generates and the treatment capacity of sewage per day. As one of the studies state, the major cities of India produce around 38,000 million liters per day of sewage, but urban sewage treatment capacity for these treatment plants is only 11,000 million liters per day. So most of the water is just let out untreated in most of the rivers and lakes of India. If you can see, for a water sample with a 5-day BOD, that is the biological oxygen demand, that is the term or the reading you, okay, I forgot the word. So the BOD is like based on that reading, you will know how much the water is polluted. So according to the standards, if the 5-day BOD of a water sample is 1 to 2 mg, it's very clean. And if it is about 20 mg, it is very dirty, it is ecologically unsafe and really polluted water. The current BODs for different locations of the country, these samples are taken in most of the rivers. So the river Yamuna canal has 247. And there are a few, none of them are close to the set standards. So that's kind of a problem. Another source is urbanization. Rapid urbanization in India during recent decades have given rise to a number of environmental problems such as water supply, wastewater generation, and its collection, treatment, and disposal. Many towns and cities which came up on the bank of rivers, mostly like that is way in the past, most of the towns and cities were developed around these rivers because obviously you get a fresh water supply. So since more and more people from the rural area move to the urban areas, there's a stress over everything. So the cities which were developed on these banks of the rivers were not given a proper thought to the proper wastewater management or sewage system, etc. Nearly 80% of the water supplies from domestic use passes out as wastewater. A part of the water percolates to the ground and contaminates groundwater as well. Cities with population more than 1 lakh generate as much as 16,000 million liters per day, but about 70% of the population is only 70% is provided with the sewage facility. The most of these really, not most, but there are really populated areas and regions around the river Ganga, and the Ganga river basin contributes about 1/3 of the total wastewater of the entire India, which is a serious issue. As per the latest estimates, out of 2,000 million liters per day of wastewater generated, only 6,000 is treated before it is let out. Treated or partially treated or untreated wastewater is disposed into the natural drains which join the rivers or lakes, or used rivers or the lakes, or used on land for irrigation and cultivation purposes. The problem, as I said, is worsened by migration of poor people from the surrounding areas to the from the surrounding rural areas to the urban areas, and most of these people don't have a proper place to live or proper sanitation practices, so they end up living near the sewage or the canals, which could be a health issue. So another major source is industries. So most of the Indian rivers and other sources of fresh water are polluted by industrial waste or effluents. The total wastewater generated from all the major industries sources is about 83 million liters per day. And different industries have different quantities of wastewater that they produce. As you can see in the graph, the engineering industry has the maximum amount of wastewater that it produces. Then also the problem is some of these, I won't say all the industries are bad, but most of the industries that were established quite like in the before the 1990s, they don't have proper disposal equipments or proper treatment before they dispose of the water. So these, even if they do have the equipment, it is not in a proper working order. So that these problems kind of cropped up. A few examples for this is the ammonia pollution in the groundwater around a urea factory in Kanpur. So there also there's a natural spring close to the Zuari Agro urea plant in Goa. So there are a few sections of India where these old industries are still there and they are still working, and they just let out water. To say there are quite a few really good industries, really good big industries in India which are very responsible and which have really good treatment of the wastewater or their waste, whatever generated before they let out, and they are those kind of treatment plants are at power with most of the developing countries. So you cannot say that all the industries are bad, but yeah, there is a problem. So, and also to note, the small scale and the cottage industries also have a major problem, cause a major problem. There are about 3 million small scale industries, and they have highly polluting production technologies like tanning of leather, electroplating of cyanide baths, and most of these small scale ones, since they are kind of ignored from the main implementation of rules and stuff, so they either have no treatment facilities or really less. So that's kind of a problem. Another major problem is the withdrawal of water. Like this is a problem in most of the Himalayan rivers like Ganga. It has plenty of water when it comes down the Himalayas in their upper course. However, for the water for Ganga is taken for irrigation in the surrounding areas, as the Ganga is in the northern plains, which is mostly an irrigational area because of the fertile soil. So most of these rivers have canals to them, and by the time they reach the major cities, they have very less water. And this problem is even more increased when in the cities, in the highly populated cities, the wastewater sewage is added to the rivers. So there is no dilution. If these rivers basically had a really good flow, the problem of the water pollution could be solved by dilution. But that's again a problem, because most of the good water or the fresh water is taken for irrigation, and all the effluents are added to the rivers. So that is one of the problems. Also, religious practices. Religious faith and social practices add a lot to the pollution of the river waters. This is like there are carcasses of cattle and other animals disposed in the river. Dead bodies are cremated in the river banks. Partially burned bodies are flung in the river. This is because mainly in Ganga, they consider just putting the dead bodies in the water or partially burned water as holy. Like if the person dies and if they do this to the dead body, probably he is just washed off of all the sins. That is one of the thoughts behind doing this. So all of this adversely affects the water quality. Another one is mass bathing of river during religious festivals. Studies have revealed that the BOD goes up drastically when thousands of people simultaneously take the holy dip. Now the holy dip is something like, again, since Ganga is considered as a holy river, the water of Ganga is considered as really holy. Like if you just have a bath out there, you are just washed off of all the sins and you can just go home happy. So that is one of the thoughts behind why this is done. Also, there are a lot of offerings from the thing you called as puja, of worshipping of gods. Again, if the logic behind it is if you just put it in the river, since the water is holy, it's like an offering to the god. So and nowadays the problem is, since there is a lot of plastic bags, these offerings are just put in the river with plastic bags. So again, this increases the problem of plastic bags in the river. So there's quite a lot. Also, now what is done to improve? So there are a lot of things done to improve. I mean, of what I'm just giving pointers because it's an overview. Each and every topic out here of what is done to improve, or what are the statistics, or what are the conclusions of things done, that can go on for a 4-hour lecture. So I'm just mentioning the points. There is a lot more which is done and a lot more to learn. So what is done to reduce the water pollution is treatment of domestic sewage and subsequent utilization of treated sewage for irrigation can prevent pollution in the water bodies and also increase the quality of water. Since 2005, Indian wastewater treatment plant market has been grown annually at the rate of 10 to 12%. So this is a really good thing that is happening. United States is the largest supplier of treatment equipment and supplies to India. It has around 40% of market share of new installations. So it's a good thing that we are getting in new technology and we are getting in more and more treatment facilities. Also, according to the study conducted by the WHO, at this rate of expansion, India will nearly triple its water sewage capacity in the near future, and the treatment supply will match India's daily sewage treatment requirements around 10 years down the line. So, and also the Central Pollution Control Board is pretty active with these things. So it has established more stringent laws it has established a national water quality monitoring network to monitor the water quality, and things are taken pretty seriously. And the monitoring is done in 28 states and 6 union territories for all the water bodies. So it's a good thing. Another thing is, this is a big one, the Ganga Action Plan. Since Ganga is considered as a holy river, and also because of the rise of awareness of people have been taking drastic steps to clean up the Ganga's water, to educate people on, irrespective of religion, how you are polluting the water. So there are quite a few NGOs which are working in these. And also the Ganga Action Plan was proposed by the government in December 1984. So that's kind of, that is like pretty old. It's in the second phase, and I guess I don't exactly know the statistics, but yeah, it's got a pretty good improvement, and it's in the news, the positive points of the news. Again, positive points are in the news always. Again, implementation of rules and revised regulations. There are three acts with respect to the water pollution. Is the Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act of 1974, Water Prevention Control of Pollution Cess Act of 1977, and the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. So these three acts have been considered and have been revised to have more stringent standards. Also, there are a lot of non-governmental organizations that are taking efforts towards reducing of water pollution. Like in my city itself, in the college I studied, there is this really good club, a student initiative, which is the Incredible India, and they have a lot of projects like these. So there's a really big river in my city, and they go really often to educate people and to clean up that river itself. So there's a lot of awareness that is increasing. There are river cleanup drives. Also, all the religious things are mostly related to Ganga. So these NGOs have come up with a really creative way of convincing people. The NGOs like India Sponsor Organization, Swachha, they have come up with a unique way of using religion to prevent water pollution, of telling people how polluting the Ganga, since it is holy, it'll be a huge sin, something like that. So that's interesting that people are coming up with a lot of creative ways of dealing with this problem. Another problem is land pollution. Let me just get this. So the main reasons for the land pollution is excessive use of chemical fertilizers. As you can see, agricultural land in India is 43.6% of the total land, which is a big one, as India is an agriculture country, and around 50% of the workforce in India is in agriculture. Their living is based on agriculture. Accelerated use of chemical fertilizers and biocides in agriculture is the major cause of soil pollution. They are used to increase the yields of the crops, but first they kill the germs and the pathogens on the plants, and then they affect the soil. So among the pesticides, the widely used pesticide are chlorinated hydrocarbons, and these kind of have an impact on the soil, then the food, then the animals, and then finally the humans. The use of these fertilizers gained momentum in India on commencement of the Green Revolution around 1966 to 67. The overall per hectare consumption of fertilizers rose by 0.55 kgs in 1950 to 67 kgs in 1992. and now by 2004 it was 89.8 kgs of use of fertilizers per hectare. The highest per hectare consumption of fertilizers is in Punjab, which is 189.1 kgs per hectare, followed by Haryana, which is 167.1 kgs. So that is quite a lot. And again, Punjab and Haryana are in the northern plains, as I showed you. That's where many of the people there are into agriculture. Also, the other problem is polluted solids and liquids from industrial areas. This source got attention after the incident of uranium poisoning in the state of Punjab. This happened due to fly ash ponds from thermal power stations, which reportedly led to severe birth defects in children in Faridakot and Bhatinda districts of the state. The problem is most of the industries, again, which are pretty old, they do not dispose their waste containing harmful chemicals in proper manner. This can lead to the dispersion of waste affecting the surrounding environment. These wastes can sometimes travel for miles before settling down, thus increasing the area that was affected. And that particular situation, the one in Punjab, the UN tested the soil, which was about 50% above the trace limits that was set by the UN, which is quite a lot. Another problem is the poor disposal system of municipal wastes. This is a problem, this is a main source of land pollution in most of the rural and urban areas. It is common in India to find, it is really common, to find a heap of garbage on the street corners. Except for a few states which are very good at their disposal system. I would say Gujarat is a big one. They have really improved the disposal system. I'll mention that further. Another one, the municipal waste is generally dumped at a large dumping site or burned in open dumps at the outskirts of the city. This is happening now in my city, but they're saying that the people in the government officials have a really big plan for a sustainable system, so that's kind of a situation right now. Then, as you see, the composition of municipal solid waste in India is 50% of biodegradable solids. So that is a lot. So somehow the general thinking of people was like, okay, since it's biodegradable, you'll just put it in an open dump and it'll decompose over time. But the problem is the amount of waste that is dumped and the amount of decomposition that is happening is the more waste is dumped, then it can decompose. So there is accumulation of waste. So that is a problem. So this is these are a few photos of open dumping of waste and open burning of waste. This is a video of rack pickers. These are a group of people who separate waste they separate waste based on plastics and glasses and metals, and they take these metals and glasses and resell it for their own living. So this video is a few blocks away from my place, and it was sent by my mom. So and the general composition of the waste collected till now was in the mixed fashion, and these people are the only ones which segregate the waste from the way it is here. So that was kind of a problem previously, but there is the more awareness of people is getting, there's more awareness of people, so more people are demanding separation of waste at the time point of collection. So we've got another video which shows that recently the people who collect the waste, have 2 different bins to collect at least the plastics from the biodegradable waste. So the recent developments include that 3 cities of Gujarat have already constructed sanitary landfills. 6 out of 22 cities have sanitary landfills now. Integrated waste management facilities are being developed in Faridabad and Lucknow. 17 out of 22 municipal corporations want to undertake landfill gas to energy projects. India's first landfill gas to energy project is going to start power generation soon in Greater Mumbai, Maharashtra. There are many proposals on sustainable solid waste systems in various cities have been submitted to the government, and the enforcers and the policy makers are seriously considering these options and modification of current policies. If you go online, you can see a lot of good papers on sustainable solid waste systems. The reason being, you cannot, when it comes to this, you cannot just take a system that has been implemented in the USA or Europe and just apply it in India, because India has every country has different problems. Like India has a huge population problem, there are social political obstacles that have to be considered while developing a sustainable solid waste system, whereas probably USA, I think most of the waste in USA is more of plastic and non-biodegradable, whereas the composition of waste also in India is different. So you need to have a unique individual sustainable solid waste systems, and if you go online you can see a lot of proposals, and this is a big one. And there are a few that have already been implemented, like the 1 points you can see above, and there are almost 80% which are projects which are in the pipeline of getting implemented. Also, there is increased awareness of people with this factor, and the awareness, there was awareness a few years back too, but the recently elected Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he has come up with I think I have a photo for that. Okay, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that is the Clean India movement, in which he went on the streets of India and cleaned the streets to raise awareness. He did that by himself, which is a really great thing that has increased the awareness almost by a triple, and people around the cities have come up and they come together to clean the streets or whatever the problem is. And I feel the more awareness that is increased in the people, the more the people will demand from the government, which will make it easier for government to implement, since you have the support of the people. So this is a big one that is happening, and I really feel that this problem, in the next 10 years, you won't find any garbage in India. It'll all be just a perfect system. This is another video. This was sent by my aunt in the same city I stay in. It is about how the people have become aware, and this is how residential waste is collected now. Like plastic bags are separated from the other wastes. The other problem is noise pollution. Well, this is not a problem anymore. India is, I don't know, I can't say was, I'm not pretty sure, the home to 3 of the world's noisiest cities, that is Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata. And the main reason for them being for the noise pollution is mainly due to vehicular traffic with vehicular horns and noise pollution that occurs during festivals like Diwali and Ganpati. So like the 4th of July celebrations here, the 4th of July, right? Like in USA, it can't be without fireworks. The same way Diwali, which is the festival of lights, which takes place for over 5 days during the October and November, it is incomplete without fireworks. So it's the festival of light, and it's pretty beautiful if you see. But the problem is firecrackers and fireworks, they create more pollution, a lot of noise. Another festival is Ganpati, which is, you can see on the right, there are processions of drums or dhols, which you can see in the picture. So there are these processions that take place, which lead to a lot of noise pollution. But the good part is that people, especially in the cities, have become really aware about this, mainly because when it's noise, you can feel it directly. Like if it is air or something, you will feel it over a certain number of days or months. Or you'll feel it if you are in a really highly polluted air area where you'll cough it out and stuff. But people are really aware about this, and even the government has lowered the noise standard. Lowering the noise standard is a growing trend, but it's still yet to be implemented over the entire country. But surely the main cities, there is a police plan which is going to impose a total ban on the loudest firecrackers. The loudest mean the ones which exceed decibels of 125. So keeping the new guidelines the government imposes, the noise pollution levels across the India are going to reduce. So also there's a rule which is taken pretty seriously by most of the police and the officials, that if there are offenders, they will be arrested and even jailed under the Indian Noise Pollution Regulation and Control Rules and the Environmental Protection Act. If they are guilty, they could be fined up to 1 lakh rupees, which comes to $2,250 or face imprisonment for up to 5 years. This particular pollution is I am considering it as a success story. Reason being, people have totally supported this problem. People in big cities are getting eco-friendly firecrackers. Some of them have totally stopped burning firecrackers. And also people are checking if there are noise standards, and the vehicular horns have lesser noise standards. Also in Delhi and Kolkata lead in purchases of eco-friendly fireworks, which actually cost less than the traditional fireworks, also because of incentives given by the government. There are a few rural areas and small towns which still prefer traditional firecrackers, but mostly the city residents insist they celebrate with green alternatives to noisy firecrackers without sacrificing the festival fun. Also, in my own city, Ganpati is a very big festival in my own city, and over the past 2-3 years, the noise in the speakers and the doles have been banned after 11 p.m. So it's a very good thing, and people actually support this ban. And I feel if people support a certain rule, it is easier for the government to implement it. It is easier for the police to implement it. So this is a major success story. Also, Indian authorities and Pollution Control Board are making it mandatory for firecracker manufacturers to mark each product with its corresponding level of noise pollution. The authorities and the government are pretty serious about this. So this is all that I mentioned right now. The other part is The other problem is deforestation. Hey, this is a pretty interesting photo. I don't know where this is, but it's by Greenpeace. And there were a few people dressed as orangutans and apes who were sitting there outside KFC protesting about deforestation. I don't think this is in India, but Greenpeace is there in India. That's what I know for sure. So the problem is, in India, the per capita average forest land is only 0.1 hectares, hectare area, which is much lower than the world average, which is 1.08. So India has lost around 1.3 million hectares of forest every year between 1972 to 1980. This is pretty old, but I feel as far as deforestation is concerned, people are quite serious about it over the past 10 years at least. So the maximum deforestation has occurred in Madhya Pradesh, which was about 2 million, Maharashtra, which is about 1 million, and the further data which you can see. And in 1950, Himachal Pradesh had 38.5% of its area under forest, which is now gone down to 15. And in Jammu Kashmir, the actual forest cover is only 6% of total area against the official record of 60%. This was, I guess, around the post-British era, because that's when there were a lot of teak wood and timber farming or trees cut for that. I don't think now it is much of a problem, because the governments have reserve forests and they have preserved areas which are really preserved. And there were like earlier, hunting for recreation was quite common, but over the past 10 years, I haven't heard about any situation where animals are being hunted for recreation or for commercial purposes. The reason for deforestation is the faulty government forest policy. This was definitely around 1865, so that was like before the British left. Yeah, so it had a disastrous effect on the forests of India, but because that time that policy encouraged people living near the forest areas to clear them for cultivation, but now this policy is not. I don't think it's anymore. I think probably 20-30 years back they just stopped all of it. There are a few places where there's open grazing, shifting cultivation, but not that much. So there's extensive damage to forest which is caused by open grazing of cattle by local people. So this is by the nomadic tribes that practice open grazing, especially in the Uttaranchal, which was more than 2,500 such grazers owning flocks, about 1.2 million sheep and goat. I don't think that's there now. I don't think so. And also, yeah, this is a recent problem of the construction activity and urbanization, especially in the big city areas, since people are migrating from rural to urban. Also, there is growing demand for agricultural land because of more number of people. So that is the recent reason for cutting down of trees. But again, in the preserved areas, in the preserved forests, they're pretty strict about it. So I've just mentioned the negative effects of deforestation. I'm pretty sure most of you know about them. So that's degradation of soil, flooding, climate change, climate change is something which is observed recently in India. I mean, earlier, I would say just a couple of years back, we had like distinct seasons, summer, rainy and winter, but that is changing. We are getting extreme weathers. In summer it is extremely hot, in winter it is extremely cold. But I think that is all over the world because of a global climate change problem. But if you cut down a forest, the area around it will be affected a lot. But other than that, what I'm trying to say is this season changes. Like my mom recently, day before, she said that we are having rains like this month of the year. It's never happened. Probably that's there everywhere. Even in United States, we are getting extreme weathers and extreme climate. And also the negative effects is economic loss of biodiversity. I think many of you might have heard about the population of Indian tigers going down. This is another success story because with efforts of the government officials, the population of tigers is now recovered. And I don't think they are considered as critically endangered anymore. They are in the endangered zone, but it is improving, and I guess this is not a problem anymore. That is one more success story about it. What has been done past 20 years and what is done now is the government policies. So the Indian government's Union Ministry of Environment and Forests has released the first draft of policy that may nudge the nation into complying United Nations REDD program. I guess the full form of REDD is reduction of emissions due to deforestation or something. I'll just make sure about that. Yeah, that's reduction emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. So I don't think now deforestation is much of a problem. It was in the past. Also, there are local communities which are very active with respect to this. There are several continuing examples of small communities taking self-propelled initiatives outside the formal structures of law and governance to protect their forests. Also, the people living around the forests are mostly the tribal or the rural people who are dependent on the forest and the resources you get from the forest. So if there is reforestation, they are the ones who are going to be first affected. So they are the ones who are majorly enraged, and they are the ones who are taking self-propelled initiatives. One of the best known was the Chipko movement in Himalayas. The Chipko movement is like people actually, if there were people coming to cut down the forest, they actually went and hugged the trees and said, I'm not going to let you cut the tree. So that was a huge success. I guess that was again around 20 years back, and that was one of the main ways how these people and how started protesting and stuff. It started with this. Also, there are stricter controls over unwanted cutting of trees and protecting the reserved areas and the species of plants and animals. This you can see by the success story of the recovery of tiger population. Also, now the summary. I would say, to summarize, India is an example of a true developing nation. The environmental problems faced by the country are pretty complex, and the efforts have been taken towards dealing with them. Some efforts have proven successful, like the reduction of noise pollution, while some still need more attention. It is a learning process for the country which will take time, but the country has true high potential of emerging successful through these obstacles. The way I take this as is the period before the sunrise is always the darkest one. So India is in the darkest period, so whatever will happen after this is just light. And I would say not now, probably 5 years back was the darkest period. You can see there are so many things, there are so many movements, there are so many awareness, everything is like going on, and India will truly emerge to handle its environment better. And that's what I really feel. I have really high hopes on the country's environment and the way people are aware about the recent environment. And I really feel whatever is going to happen after this is going to be truly